standing between you guys and lunch after a session on pizza. So
I know. I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, this was not the best time slot, but that's okay. We're going to go with it.
I went over there to try and get a snack before lunch. There's no food there, by the way, so don't try and go over there. And there's a picture of me actually moderating something, so I'm going to try and to kind of do the same thing. My name's Duncan. I'm the Chief Growth Officer of a new model marketing consultancy called Been There, Done That. And I'm delighted to be here. Really, really happy to be here. And we've got Dana Lawrence, who's the Managing Director of Global Brand for American Airlines. Before we start with introductions, there seemed to have been a theme around child labor. So not American Airlines, but did you have any interesting jobs when you were growing up, when you were young?
Well, I was going to say about Pizza Hut because I guess it really is ubiquitous. My nephew actually just had his first job at Pizza Hut. So it was like his first job at age 16. So I've heard a lot about Pizza Hut from him and all about making pizzas and all sorts of cool stuff. So I didn't have as cool of a job when I was that age as working at Pizza Hut. I did a lot of summer camps and stuff like that.
That's awesome. I was also at someone else was at a car dealership. I did the same thing. And the things you learn there are life lessons, for sure. So Dana, would you like to introduce yourself first, and then we'll get going?
Yeah, absolutely. Dana Lawrence, and I lead marketing at American Airlines, and I've been here almost 5 years. So, and previously, my background worked at PepsiCo in marketing for many years. So, always focused in the consumer realm, and always kind of every aspect of marketing, but really focused on marketing. Great love all the different aspects. So
perfect. So look, today's topic is marketing innovation, and we've had some amazing speakers so far, but that term means a lot of things to a lot of different people, right? So maybe you want to talk about at American kind of what that means to you and how you guys have approached it.
Yeah, I mean, I probably think of it pretty simply and as well as fairly broadly. So in terms of all of the new products, campaigns, programs, as well as tools and technology that do two things, that either improve your customer engagement and ultimately preference for your brand and deliver business objectives. So at the end of the day, is innovation helping you do those two things?
That makes a lot of sense. And I mean, the airline industry's had a really interesting few years of kind of,
say the least,
ups, downs, whipsaws of supply and demand, where kind of that imbalance has been huge in the last 3 or 4 years. So do you want to talk a little bit about how the role that innovation has played in helping manage the business through that turbulence? You see what I did there?
I appreciate all of the airline puns and analogies. So yeah, that's great. The airline industry, it is dynamic on a good day. And so you can imagine with COVID and just the massive shifts in customer sentiment, in demand, actually when there was no demand. And so, yeah, it was kind of a whipsaw, and it was going up and down. And it wasn't just in 2020 when things, fell off the cliff. For the next 3 years, it was up and down and up and down. So we really had to approach the business and approach marketing, in a different way. And I would say that, COVID, not that I have a lot of great things to say about COVID, but one positive is that, it really inspired a lot of innovation on our part because we had to think differently. We had to try different things. And so I would say it was probably one of the greatest times of innovation for us in marketing, at least in recent years at American Airlines, because we had to. But I think a lot of those practices we've actually carried over what really worked, and we're leveraging that today. But gosh, if you think of that timeline, it started out and there was, no one was flying, in 2020. And our budgets were slashed. Not surprisingly, we weren't making any profit. So, but you still had to market. You still needed to talk about your brand. And so, an appropriate example is, since we're here at the Star, is that we have a lot of sports sponsorships. And so we had a lot of our dollars tied up in those and all of these great assets, but we weren't leveraging them in the same ways because no one was in the stadiums, et cetera. And so what were we focused on at the time? We were talking about our new clean commitment program and everything that we were doing and the importance of HEPA filters and working with all of the doctors and et cetera. Really wanted to assure, our customers that it was safe to fly, they were comfortable flying, what we were doing with mask mandates, all of that. And so we actually leveraged we're a sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. And so we leveraged the Cowboys as well as the LA Rams, and we basically turned them into influencers for us. So when they were flying our charters, we did videos, and we actually had the team coaches, the team doctors, the players talk about flying on our planes, the practices, how they felt great about it, why they felt safe, etc. So it was really about how do you use your assets differently. And I remember I was talking with our CEO, and I said, if you told me a year ago that I was going to have the Dallas Cowboys talking about cleanliness, I would have said you're crazy. But you do what you need for your customers and for your business. It was also interesting because we really had to not just share. I'll make sure this route was a little low. How can we drive bookings? We had to stimulate demand. So we really had to think in a lot of different ways. This was in 2021. We started out the year and we said, gosh, we've really got to ramp up the year. We've got to drive some business, get people flying. So we did a promotion, American Daily Deals, and we did a different deal every day for 2 weeks. We were really trying to drive people to the website, get them engaged, kind of inspire them with a low fare, get them in the door. And then once they saw everything that we had to offer, really get them engaged. Well, I can imagine you're saying, okay, promotion, great. We do it all the time. Actually, we didn't. We had not done any promotions. That just was not our modus operandi and what we did. We did relative pricing, relative revenue management, but we weren't actually trying to do deals and cut prices. In my previous world at Frito-Lay and PepsiCo, we did promotions every single day. So it's how you can apply some of those different things based on what your situation is. And so it was great, and we learned a lot from that. And we don't do deals all of the time, but we do it selectively now based on needs. We probably wouldn't have done that if not for COVID. And then, you fast forward a little bit, and in 2022, if you think back in Q1, we actually lost, I think it was 1.9 billion in Q1 of 2022. So those are some big numbers. 3 months later, so, we were trying to get people in seats, stimulating demand, all of those good things, trying to drive flight bookings. 3 months later, we actually pulled back on all of our efforts behind flights because demand skyrocketed. Our flights, our load factors were full. And so when you say, gosh, having to be flexible and nimble, absolutely. I hate to use that word pivot because it's used so much. But, the hard part is marketing is that, yes, we were very flexible. Yes, we were very nimble. But as you all know, we still have to plan. You can't do everything at the drop of a hat. You still have to do some planning. And so, I think we really started to think of our plans a little bit differently. And we thought of it less in the terms of news and what are the cool new things that are coming out and what are the routes we want to promote. And, oh, there's this new seat that has, more leg room and all of those things. We really started to think of in terms of what are things we communicate that are timeless and what are things that are timely, so that we could really adjust as needed. So timeless things really rooted in the consumer insights. What's important to the customer in terms of, comfort, ease of travel, control, as well as that connection and driving travel inspiration, balanced with things that are timely. We needed to drive this level of demand. We needed to drive these routes, etc. So, we built our plans in that way. So we had them, I don't want to say necessarily on the shelf, but ready to go. Another thing we did during that time was we actually shifted all of our media to 100% digital. And that helped us a lot because we could, go up and down as needed. And so, when I said it was like 3 months later, we actually had so much, our bookings were so high that we had to pull back. We were able to then shift our media more to upper funnel from lower funnel because it really was more about driving the brand than it was about driving bookings. So, it was a great testament of how you can be innovative. I guess, what is it? Necessity is the mother of invention. But it was great. And a lot of those learnings we're leveraging still today. So
I think on the positive side, we call that an opportunity for growth, right?
Yes, that is the much better positioning.
And just a follow-up, did you, I mean, you mentioned there about the shift to digital. Did you rely on your partners in new ways? Did you think about how you organized your business internally differently? Like, has this taught you in the last 3 years kind of, okay, we had a partnership and a structure and a way of working previously that maybe needs to evolve based on, the last few years?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would say the importance of our tech partners, incredible, and that's really how we were able to drive the business, in so many different ways. And, when you think about how we're innovating today and how we're thinking about it, we have so many partners that have really helped us make a difference. I mean, one example, one area is in SEO. So, we're always trying to attract people to our website, et cetera, right? Just like everyone. But we partnered with a company called Everymundo, and it's actually a travel offer marketing platform. And so, yes, we've had different landing pages that we created, but they actually enabled us to create landing pages at scale. So what I mean by that is, if you go search on Google or you search on Bing, you might say, hey, flights from DFW to LAX. And you would see different brands. Well, because of all of our landing pages, it pops up very personalized landing pages that actually show you American Airlines flights with imagery, with specific flights, what time of day, where do you want to go, and then that deep links into our booking path on our website. It doesn't just take you to a.com; it goes actually to the booking path. And by doing that at scale, we actually create. I think we have the latest count is 52,000 different landing pages that are personalized. And so, and we got them in different countries, and we've got them in local languages. And so, we've been able to be way more effective in our SEO. And the result of that is because our organic rankings have gone up so much higher, we've really kind of leapfrogged, we've actually been able to pull back on some of our paid media and our paid search because our organic is doing so well. So doing it in a really effective way, but I think that's because of technology and some of those digital partners that we've been able to make some significant strides.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So let's talk about some recent innovations. I know, especially for the folks that work in innovation, I think we all know that, having a great idea is actually less than half the battle, right? It's getting it done. So let's talk about some of your innovations and how they came about and how they came to life and the impact they've had on the business. We wanted to show a little video, I think, if that's possible.
Hold on, I'll talk about it first, and then I'll explain it. They're just ads. It's not a cool sizzle video like Pizza Hut. Just want to set expectations there. But one of our biggest recent innovations is with our Advantage program, and that is our loyalty program. Who all is an Advantage member? Okay, almost every hand. I think there are a few missing. So it is free to join. I strongly encourage you to sign up to be an Advantage member because what you'll see, travel is better as an Advantage member. But we really did something groundbreaking from a airline loyalty program standpoint last year. You've always been able to earn miles in a lot of different ways. Earn your Advantage miles that you can then redeem for flights, which has been great. But if you wanted to earn Advantage status, you could only do that through flying. And so, and it was it was hard to measure. You had to go on your app and you had to look at these circles that told you how many miles and how much spend and how many segments. And it was this calculation and where are you going to get to gold and what would it take them to get to platinum? And for people who are really engaged, you're like watching this constantly, and what am I doing? And so we changed all of that. We actually eliminated that difficulty. We made it way easier, and we really democratized the Advantage program. So what we did is that now everyday spend can earn you status. So if you have your Advantage credit card, before you'd earn miles when you spend on it, now you'd earn loyalty points towards status. So it really was game changing because it ended for what was a lot of people is the mileage run. You would see people at the end of the year and they're like, I'm flying to Brazil. And you're like, cool, awesome vacation. That's
I didn't
great.
do Brazil mile runs. I did like Detroit. But yeah,
Well, yeah, I actually did have a friend who flew to Brazil. I'm like, that's awesome. What are you gonna do? I love Brazil. And she's like, oh yeah, I'm only there one night. I've gotta maintain my status. And so great. I'm glad you're buying a ticket on us to, fly to Brazil. But the way people thought of it, it was very an industry term that people use is an elite traveler. But the reality is, it was pretty elitist, if you think about it. And people thought about it, that's not a program for me, because you think of it in terms of someone who's got, executive platinum status. That's probably, they think of the stereotypical management consultant who is, in the plane Monday through Thursday. There you go. We greatly appreciate those people. Not denigrating them at all. They're
away from my family, away from my kids.
Important to us.
Yeah.
But that's really what people think of. And, they probably do international trips, which I know Duncan does. But it's not maybe something for me because, I take maybe 2 family vacations a year. I take one vacation and maybe I go see the grandparents, that sort of thing. I'm never going to get enough miles to do that. So I'm not going to bother with it. And by doing this, really, it democratized it where everyone can be a status member. If you are spending on your credit card, you can easily gain status. And what it means is that family vacation that you take, maybe you take that one family vacation a year. That's it. But you want to do that and you want to leverage all of those benefits that American has. So, earlier boarding, preferred seating, etc., that you can enjoy, when you have status. So that was something really cool and has really been a game changer for us. And so, we've had to think about it differently with marketing because in the past, our marketing was really mainly through our own channels because we were really only targeting Advantage members and getting them to move up in status. We really weren't talking about it broadly because it didn't make sense. There was only a certain segment of people who were going to fly enough to gain that status. So we did a lot. Almost all of our email and CRM was about to Advantage members and status. And if you go to A.com, you log into your account summary, etc. But with this change, it was really an opportunity for us to drive awareness, drive reach for status, which is something we hadn't done before. So, advertising, not maybe the most innovative thing you've ever done, but for us, talking about it broadly was something and really explaining what it meant was innovative and innovative in the category. So I have 2 ads. It just kind of explains the program. One talks about travel as an Advantage member, and then a follow-up about life adds up to travel.
With the American Airlines Advantage program, earn rewards earlier and more often through everyday spending. Life adds up to travel. Learn more at aa.com. Your daily purchases help towards earning status. Now spending doesn't just earn flex, but also more rewarding experiences with America. With Advantage, you can go from stepping out to stepping up your travel experience. To get everyday purchases with your Advantage credit card and eligible partners can bring you status. Travel is status when you're an Advantage member.
So that's as we're reversed. The first one explained the program more. The second one was a follow-up. But we air this very broadly and across all of our channels. And, the result has been great for us. You've seen Advantage acquisitions, number of members going up. We've seen credit card acquisition going up. We've seen credit card spend going up. And so, it's really been a game changer for us. And it's been a virtuous loop because you see that if people are engaged in the Advantage program and they really want to earn miles and they want to earn loyalty points, you see that they actually are booking more and they're moving up in status. And so it really becomes that loop and has really helped drive the business overall.
Right. Perfect. So let's step back for a second. We think about brand marketing. We think about kind of this is this is what I want you to know about my brand. But obviously, this product's interesting because the actual product is the flight, but there's so much around that with the planning, and the whole kind of different customer touch points. How have you kind of evolved over the last year or two, thinking about sort of CX, customer experience, and thinking about the kind of the totality of the American kind of experience versus just, hey, this is who we are and this is what we want to tell you about ourselves?
Yeah, so I mean, with our core product, and you think of the traditional customer journey, we spend a lot of time and effort, thinking about from the time a customer is interested in booking in the flight and goes on the web to look for it, all the way to the time that you are picking up your baggage and you're exiting the airport. That would be the traditional customer journey. But we're thinking of it so much more broadly now because of the Advantage program, and something that we don't just want to be a frequent flyer program. We think of it as a travel rewards program. So it really is much broader and holistic when you think of it in terms of that customer journey. Just like you saw in the ad, it's not just about that actual flight and that actual booking of it. It is when you're out shopping. It's when you're dining. It's all of those different areas that are tied in. Really, it becomes holistic to your life. So we want those people who really value travel, because you think about it, there's so many credit cards you can get. You can get a credit card from Nordstrom's and Costco and Amazon and all of those different areas that offer you benefits. But for those people who are really engaged in travel, we want them loyal to American. And so, we want them shopping through our e-shopping. We want them dining, spending on their credit card, and really thinking of it holistically with Americans. So our journeys have changed significantly in how we are reaching out to customers throughout that. In fact, part of my team back in the office today is doing work sessions on email and all of the different trigger series that we are doing and journey planning of all of the different aspects, and how when someone engages with us, how can we up that? We have those today, but we're really ramping that up in a much bigger way because of how we're thinking about the customer journey and ultimately the customer, and how can we drive that engagement and how can we drive that brand preference. And I'd also say from a business perspective, you talked about, oh gosh, the ups and downs. And I mean, we have had some business ups and downs. The Advantage program, that does help balance that out to some degree, because you are earning in different ways and there's profitability that's driven in other ways outside of the flight. So it really helps, just as we think of our entire business overall and driving earnings and driving profit.
Yeah. So I certainly think of it as I feel like I have a relationship with the brand when it comes to the loyalty, even when I'm not flying, right? And it's a way to stay in touch. So one more thing, I'd be remiss with all the partners in the room and ourselves, and this one wasn't scripted, by the way, guys. But what are some, as you've seen such a interesting few years happen, when you look to tech partners, agencies, consultancies, people around you that are supporting you, what are 2 of the 3 kind of characteristics of those companies that you really look for around true partnership, and how they really add value to you, and not just in getting the job done, but where someone's really come in and been, the word partner's thrown around so much, right? And most partnerships aren't partnerships, but I'd love you to talk a little bit about kind of where you've seen that happen and some of the characteristics of those third parties that have supported you throughout this journey.
Yeah, I think the most important thing to me with a partner is customer mindset, customer first mindset, because there are a lot of digital partners, tech partners, et cetera, and they have great products, but they're thinking of it in terms of, isn't this cool? Isn't this great? And this is how it's going to drive your business. And that's important. At the end of the day, we've all got to drive our business, but I really want them to think in terms of, how is this going to help the customer? How is this going to make drive engagement with us? How is it going to get them to be more loyal, book more flights, that sort of thing. It's not just about the business per se. And so some of the ones I think that, long-term partnerships really help, because they understand our customers and they understand our business more. And so they know, they really can come to us before we're asking them questions. They're like, hey, this is something that I think y'all are really going to be interested in. as I'm sure most of y'all are, we have very strong partners with Google. And so, they're bringing us things that others don't have to others first. An example, right now, we were the first brand to pilot, it's Google Immersive Locations. It's just a different ad unit that you can do, but it actually does landmarks in different places, and it's doing a 360 view, and it is built into the ad unit. It's just a cool way to look at it, but it's something that people are really engaging. It's not just your standard video that's showing some great footage of Big Ben in London. Something that's a little more eye-catching is thriving, and those are the types of things. They may be small, but all of those incremental things add up to something that draws attention to our brand, draws interest, drives engagement. So I think having long-term partnerships as well is really helpful. And we another great partner that we do a lot with is LiveRamp. That may not be, I don't know, familiar to all of y'all, but we focus so much on our first-party data at American through the Advantage program, and they're our identity resolution partner. And so, we're so focused on privacy. We've got this great data, but when you think of it from a privacy standpoint, I talk to the privacy office all of the time, because you got to be really careful about how they do that. And so they know what our requirements are. They know what we're trying to achieve from a privacy standpoint, but by partnering with them, we're able to leverage that data in a much richer way. So yes, we know if you're an Advantage member, we know if you're a status member, if you have a credit card holder, but we innovate with them, every month about what are the different things, and we're advancing in value segments that we can create, and how does that work, and how are they responding to our media? Maybe they respond, maybe they don't. Maybe we can be more efficient because this segment actually, email is fine. CRM works well for them. We don't need to pay media to reach that group. So, we continue to innovate and say, how can we leverage our first-party data in a more effective way and overall. So I think customer mindset and long-term, so they really know us and know our business.
Perfect. We've got 2 minutes left. Were there any burning questions from the group? I noticed no one else did questions, so I'm not sure if I'm allowed to do that, but I'm going to do it anyway. So any questions from the group? The final couple of minutes? Yes, one at the back.
Yeah, it's interesting because one concern that we had, and we got a little bit of, feedback when we first announced this, is that the people who are most upset about it were the people who had the highest status. Because they're like, well, now you're opening up to everyone, and we purposefully did that. We purposely wanted to democratize it. I mentioned earlier about using the word elite, and that was really what the industry refers to status members. We actually took that off of all of our communications. We do not use the word elite. We just say you're a status member. But still want those people to feel like they're in an elite program, because that's one of the things. You want to be elite, but not elitist. And so, that was a little bit of concern. Not a huge concern on our part. We wanted to proceed, but there was that perception. Really what we have found is that because people, what they were concerned about were things like, well, gosh, I'm never going to get my upgrade anymore because now all of these people are going to have status. But the reality is all of those people are not flying every week. They're flying very rarely. And so what you've seen, it hasn't really impacted that. And there's not a cap on the number of people who can be million miler members. All of those benefits still stand, but there hasn't been this rush that, oh gosh, I'm never going to get my upgrade, because those people aren't flying as much. We just wanted to give it, since when they do fly, they get all of the benefits of having status.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Dana. Really appreciate your time. And thank you,
so
guys.
Much. Appreciate it.